Hello and welcome to today's webinar, a cloud journey from on-premise to Oracle Analytic Cloud. So I will start this webinar with an introduction about myself and Illumi, where I work at. After that, we will have an overview of Oracle Analytic Cloud, the features and benefits. We will then have some screenshots from Essbase Cloud, so you get a feel what it looks like. And then after that, we'll look at a customer case where we migrated a customer from on-premise planning and Essbase to the cloud in Oracle Analytic Cloud. So this webinar will focus on the Essbase parts of Oracle Analytic Cloud. And after that, we will look at some key takeaways and what we learned from this project. And finally, if you have any questions. So a little about me. My name is Martin Holm, and I will also share my contact information at the end of this webinar if you have any questions that you think of from this webinar, or if you have any other questions. So I will share that contact information in the end. So a little about me is that I joined Illumi in 2011, and back then it was called Sakaba. We changed our name to Illumi last fall. I've been working with primarily Hyperion Planning and Enterprise for over 10 years now, and started my career at Scania, where I worked as a business controller and worked with both Hyperion Planning and Essbase. And during my time as a consultant at Illumi, I've been in part of several planning and Essbase implementations, some smaller, some larger. And I was also a part of the first PBCS, which is Planning on Cloud implementation in the Nordics. And I also did the first Oracle Analytic Cloud migration, Essbase to cloud in the Nordics. And that is the case we will look at later in this presentation. Talking about Illumi, we are primarily in Europe. We will have offices in Stockholm, Oslo, Copenhagen, Utrecht in the Netherlands, Espoo in Finland, Malaga in Spain, and London and Stockport in the UK. So we have 8 offices in 7 countries, and our primary focus is then, of course, in Europe. And what do we do at Illumi? What we say is that we are a full service provider, and we perform end-to-end EPM services. EPM is Enterprise Performance Management Services, which could include planning, analytics, consolidation, account reconciliation, and so on. We are divided into 3 primarily areas. The first one is advisory, where we can help customers with EPM roadmaps, looking at their methods, process improvements, and help them with the best practices to set up their financial processes. The largest part is implementation, where we do infrastructure for the more classic on-premise applications, and also help the customers in integrations and so on. We do application build and design, both on-premise and on cloud. We help with test and rollout, go live support. We can do performance testing and audits and so on. And of course, we can provide training either by ourselves or through partners. We also have a group dealing with operations, where we have managed services, we have hosting, we have our own cloud solution, and we also provide a 24/7 support desk at various support levels. And that is what I will talk about our company and myself. And let's move over to what we should talk about today, and that is Oracle Analytic Cloud. Oracle Analytics Cloud was launched in fall 2017, so it's about 2 years old now. And this is what we say a PaaS IaaS solution. On the next slide, I will go a little more in depth what these abbreviations are. But PaaS is platform as a service. IaaS is a infrastructure as a service. And Oracle, they allow you to have different types of Oracle Analytics Clouds. We have the one we will talk about mainly today is the one called Oracle Analytics Cloud Classic, which uses Oracle Cloud Infrastructure Classic. And that type of instance is managed by the customer or their providing partner. This Oracle Analytics Cloud Classic used to be called Client Managed Cloud, but has now been changed to Oracle Analytics Cloud Classic. The other version is what they now call just Oracle Analytics Cloud, which used to call Oracle Managed Cloud or Autonomous Analytics Cloud, but the preferred name now is Oracle Analytics Cloud. And there we have two types of that one as well. They're very similar. They're called Oracle Analytics Cloud and Oracle Analytics Cloud Subscription. And the main difference between these two types are that Oracle Analytics Cloud Subscription, you're sizing them on the number of users, but you can also size them on number of Oracle, on what is called Oracle CPUs, while the Oracle Analytics Cloud is only sized by number of CPUs. So just take a quick look at the differences between when we talk about cloud, we have three main types. We have the IaaS, which is infrastructure as a service. You have PaaS, which is platform as a service, and you have SaaS, which is software as a service. I will talk a little later today about the planning cloud, which is called PBCS, and that is a pure SaaS solution. And that means that in this case, Oracle, they are managing the platform and the application, and as providing partner or the customer, they only do customizations on the application. Looking at the PaaS cloud, then in this case, it would mean that Oracle will maintain the platform, but the customer can create the application layer and also, of course, create the customizations on the applications, just the way you do in SaaS. And the third one is IaaS, the infrastructure as a service, where you can see here, looking here on the left-hand side, you can see here that the service provider, in this case Oracle, they just maintain the bare minimum, while the customer or providing partner will need to maintain and handle the platform, applications, and customizations. And if we just go back one step here, looking here at this one, Oracle Analytics Cloud Classic, that is a IaaS PaaS solution, while Oracle Analytics Cloud and Oracle Analytics Cloud Subscription, they are a pure PaaS solution. And if you want to I have also a slide, I hid that slide, but if you want to, just type in the chat window, and I have a slide where if you want to know the more exact differences between these, so just type in the chat window or contact me afterwards if you want to have the exact differences between these. Okay, so now we talked about what type of cloud the Oracle Analytics Cloud is. and looking at the features in Oracle Analytics Cloud. And I highlighted some of these. It's what we call this very comprehensive. So out of the box from Oracle Analytics Cloud, you can start up your own instances of Data Visualization Cloud Service, Business Intelligence Cloud Service, and Essbase Cloud Service. And these you can scale in very different ways, number of CPUs, the memory, the type of how much storage you want, and so on. So it's very comprehensive. It's very fast deployments. You have wizards in a nice graphical interface where you just type what you want, basically. It's also, as I said, very scalable. You just you scale it, and you can also scale up and down. So if you created an environment and you think that it's too slow or you need more memory, it's just to scale up number of CPUs or memory. You will have a few minutes of downtime, but then you're up and running. So it's very, very easy to maintain. It's also very flexible in terms of how you pay for it. So you only pay for the system when it's up and running. And also so as an example, if you want to test something, you just you bring up a new instance, and you can scale that one if you want to test it with double the number of CPUs or double the amount of memory. You can do that. You can run your tests, and then once you're done, you just disable that instance, and it won't cost you a penny more. And it's very simple to do this. So as I said, it's a graphical interface, and without any major technical skills, you can do this very, very easily. And also, in particular, looking at the BI service and data visualization service, they can utilize machine learning and artificial intelligence to enhance data. So for example, with the data visualization and the BI part, you can connect that to a lot of different sources. You can also bring in your own spreadsheet and can apply some intelligence to that. For example, if you have a data set where you have one column with cities, you can apply some intelligence to that, and the system can figure out the longitude and latitude coordinates for that city, and you can use that in graphs or diagrams and so on. It's also, the system is always up to date, more or less, meaning that as soon as Oracle have a new patch and it's published, you can apply that patch. And I will show you later in this presentation how that is done, and it's extremely simple. So you will always have an up-to-date solution. And also you have a possibility to connect your data to your mobile. It's called Oracle Day by Day, and that is it also comes out of the box. A speed of development, as I said, when you have these patches coming out, now the Oracle are patching the system once a month. So if you have if there are any bugs needs to be addressed, or you have new features, it's developed very quickly, and you will always have an up-to-date and ready solution. And then also on top of all these out-of-the-box functionality, you can configure and tailor your platform to suit your needs. So for example, you can set up a VPN connection to your data warehouse, for example, on premise. And with that VPN connection, you can connect your BI or your data visualization service or Essbase and retrieve data from there. It's possible to add multi-factor logon. You can connect your system to your on-premise Active Directory, for example, so you don't have to maintain your password in several places. And you can also turn on single sign-on. And there are a lot of features that you can have that you can use in OAC. I mentioned how you pay for the system a little bit earlier. So when you're looking at a little bit at the license model, you have, as I said, you pay for the number of Oracle CPU hours, CPU, and you have two versions, either pay as you go, and that is based on your hourly consumption. So if you use 2 hours, you pay for 2 hours. If you use 100 hours, CPU hours, you pay for that. Compared to monthly flex, in the monthly flex, you pay for, you prepay a monthly fixed price, and you use that. They are called universal credits, and you use that for whatever you want, if it's an Essbase solution or BI or data visualization or whatever. So so you set a prepaid monthly amount and you use that. And the pay as you go is a slightly higher price. So you see here in the example here on the top right here, you can see that pay as you go is not double the price, but it's it's a little bit more expensive, and it could be good if you use it for, if you do a POC, if you want to have a separate instance for tests, if you want to have a completely separate environment for that. While the monthly flex is better suited for full-scale implementations. So when you're up and running, I would recommend using the monthly flex. And of course, that amount can be changed over the year, of course. And then in some cases, if you use up that credits, you will start using, you will then start to pay as you go with a slightly higher price. Okay, that is what I will cover for the overview of the Oracle Analytics Cloud. And as I said, if you have any questions, just type them in the chat box and I will address them at the end. So let's just take a really quick look at Essbase Cloud. As I said in the beginning, since this customer case I will talk about later is primarily based on a move from on-premise to Essbase Cloud, I will take a little deep dive into that part. So when you have brought up your cloud instance and you log on to this, it's a URL, and you log on, you can see this this interface here. And this one, if you have worked with any other Oracle Cloud applications, you will feel a bit at home, because Oracle is really striving to have the same graphical language layout in all Oracle Cloud products. So you will see this as a recurring theme in all of their applications. So this interface really replaces the old EIS console for you who have been working with Essbase before. So I would just have a quick deep dive into each of these parts. So looking at the first part there is the applications. So here you have, in this part, you have an overview of all your applications. You do all your application database maintenance in this view. You can add, copy applications and databases the same way as you do in EAS today. So everything you can do today, you can do in the cloud, in Essbase Cloud, but the button might be at a different place. But it's, once you've learned it, I believe it's actually more intuitive and easier to use. So for example here, if you open your an application, you can see here you have your application, you have access to files if you're configuring sources, permissions, variables, and so on. And also here, a really nice feature here is that you have direct access to the logs in this view, and I think that's very easy, very nice to have. It used to be a bit tricky to find the correct log at once. So this is the application level. Going down to the database level, you can look at your dimensions, if you have any specific files stored under the database, scripts. Here you have your calculation scripts, your MaxL scripts, load roles, and so on. Filter access, variables, if you have any locks, settings, statistics, and so on. So as you can see here, you have everything that you used to have, but in a different interface. And also here you can, if you look at you can launch an outline editor, and now it really starts to look like EAS, where you have, it's a bit small picture here, but the idea here is on the left hand you navigate through the dimension and your members, and on the right hand here you will have all the information for that member. The next circle here is the jobs part, and from this part you launch all your jobs, and you can relaunch the jobs, and you can look at job details. So, and this is a little difference from before, because in ES you could launch the job directly from the script editing interface, but here you need to go out here and launch the jobs. And looking at the jobs available for you, so you have most of these you will recognize from Essbase on-premise, but you can build dimension, you build aggregations, clear data, export data. You can export your entire database to Excel and do your editing there of your dimensions. You can do an LCM extract and so on. And of course you can load data, you can run your calculation, you can run Groovy scripts, which is new for the cloud. You can run your MaxL, and you can run your MDX scripts. So as I said, you can do everything on cloud as you can do on premise. The next one is files, and in this part, this one is, you can see this is similar to your file explorer in Windows. So if you expand applications, you will see all your applications, and under applications you can see all your databases, and under the applications and databases you can store data load files. You have your scripts, you have your load roles, exactly as you would have if you would open your file explorer in Windows. You also have a gallery with some examples of databases and so on. You have a shared folder if you want to share between users, and you have your own specific folder if you want to store some specific files only for you. The security part here, it's quite similar as you have on premise. You add a role to members or member groups, and they are either service administrators, power users, or users. And then once you have, and this will only give you access to the Essbase Cloud instance, and on top of that, you need to get access to each application or database. And of course, you can add filter security and so on. So most things are very similar to on-premise. And this is a new part for the cloud, which is sources. And here you can create connections to various sources, and you can also create data sources. So based on the connections you create in this first part, you can create a SQL script or something like that and create your own data sources that you later can use in data loads or building dimensions or whatever you want to. And here you can see that you have a lot of more different options in cloud compared to on-premise. On-premise you had file and SQL server. Here you can connect to Oracle database. You can connect to Essbase on-premise. You can connect a file, Oracle BI, Spark, DB2, SQL Server, and MySQL. So you have a lot of very, very nice features here. So moving forward, you have your console here, and this one is here you have all your configurations. You can download your, you can see you can download your desktop tools that you use. For example, you have your MaxL client if you want to run any MaxL scripts from your command line. You have some other command line tools. I will come back to some of these later. You have SmartView, add-ins, and so on. And as you can see here, you have a lot of settings here that you can dig into if you want to. And finally, the last part is the Academy. So in all Oracle Cloud solutions, you always have an Academy card where you can take a tour of Oracle Analytics Cloud Essbase. You can get some very nice links to how to maintain the system or how to use it as a user and so on. And of course, you can connect this to Excel. So as I said, you can export this to Excel, or you can also retrieve data from data or the whole database from the cloud and put that into Excel. That you do with Cube Designer. And here you can see you have a lot of different tools here. I'm not going into detail here, but you can build a cube if you have loaded one. You can update your dimensions, you can load data and so on. You can also maintain your cal scripts here and a lot of things. And then of course, SmartView is available to retrieve the actual data and do your ad hoc analysis or whatever you want to do with Essbase. So that is what I will cover about the Essbase Cloud. And I will move over to the customer case where we moved their on-premise solutions to the cloud. So a little quick background. This customer, they used on-premise planning and Essbase. They did budget and forecasts in Oracle Planning, and they had all their actual reporting in Essbase. The main interface was Oracle SmartView, and they had one planning application for both budget and forecast. They had one Essbase BSO application that they loaded monthly, and into this application they also loaded they loaded the actuals and also the latest version of the budget and forecast. They had 3 Essbase ASO applications and all these 3 applications were built with Essbase Studio, and these were rebuilt daily, so they had new fresh dimensions and data every day. And they also had a set of archive cubes. So all this needs to be migrated to the cloud. They aren't a super large user group, only 20 end users. And as I said, they had daily loads of the counting system for the ASO cubes. They did monthly group reporting, and they did quarterly updates of forecast and yearly budgeting. So in the end, what did we want to achieve in the end? Of course, we wanted to migrate Essbase to Essbase Cloud Service. The goal was also to migrate planning to Planning and Budgeting Cloud Service, the PBS solution, and then also connect these two clouds. Since I explained in the beginning that PBCS is a SaaS solution and the Essbase Cloud Service is a IaaS PaaS solution. We also wanted easier log on for the users. They used to have native users, so we wanted to implement single sign-on. And another goal was also to the end user should be affected as little as possible by this move. And finally, we also wanted to implement a new reporting tool on top of Essbase, planning, and other data sources for their future needs. So before I go over to the actual migration, I wanted to highlight some of the business justifications. So Oracle has been in contact with the customer for a few years, and when they started to look at this some time ago, the cloud solution wasn't really there. The features they needed Oracle couldn't support, but when this project started about a year ago, the customer could see that now the cloud is ready. All the features they want are there. They could also see that the database integrations were in place, so it was possible to connect the cloud system to their on-premise databases and do this very securely. They were also very intrigued by the better licensing model, as I described earlier, that you pay a monthly price and it's not limited to the number of users. And also so they will get a lot more end users at a lower cost. Just a small reflection there that the license model I described earlier, that's only applicable for Oracle Analytics Cloud. For PBCS, the SaaS solution, they pay a monthly license for each user. But in the planning tool, they have a lot fewer users, about 20. But in the analytics solution, Essbase and BI there, they can have potentially as many users as they want to. They were also they wanted to have upgrade and patching quicker, more frequent. And with this cloud solution, it's, as I said, it's very easy to do, and it's basically free of charge. I will show you a slide of this later, but it's basically a push of a button and you have a patch system. And if you have an on-premise solution, that could take months and cost hundreds of thousands of crowns. Also, that they wanted to have speed of development and new features. And this, of course, ties to the ease of patching. If you have an on-premise solution, it's a big project to get a new feature. Scalability on demand, as I explained earlier. So looking at this project, they saw that the total cost of ownership is a lot lower compared to sticking with the current solution. So this part might get a little technical. So, and if you have any detailed questions about this, just type that in the chat or reach out to me afterwards. So the migration of planning to PBCS, that one was very straightforward. I actually did that on the train from Gothenburg to Stockholm, and it was I used the built-in LCM tools and exported their on-premise planning and imported that to PBCS using something called EPM Automate. And the only thing that we need to do was that we need to do some change and adaptation of the integrations. But that one was fairly straightforward. Essbase to OAC, I divided this into two parts. The first part was the archive cubes and the BSO cube. And to do this, I first needed to make sure that their on-premise applications were set to Unicode. I exported all the applications using a command utility was an LCM utility. I imported that to OAC using some called SBase command line interface utility. And once it was uploaded, I just did an import, and everything was up and running. The only thing I needed to update was the data loads that was using SQL scripts, because the connection string is a little different compared to on-premise. But overall, it was fairly straightforward also. But we did have a bit of more challenge looking at the Essbase Studio to Oracle Analytic Cloud, because Essbase Studio is not supported directly out of the box. So you don't have the tool in the system in the cloud. I don't know if it will be implemented going forward, but as for now, it's not there. But you can do this in a different way anyway. So you do the migration similar in the same way as in the BSO version. Just make sure that the data load roles are included. And if they weren't included in the LCM extract, you need to go out and grab them from the file explorer and just import them to the cloud. Because Oracle Analytic Cloud supports something called index-based rules that wasn't supported in EIS, but Essbase Studio uses that. So you will have all your data load rules. You just need to verify the load rules and make some adjustments. You needed to adjust the connection string as before, and also needed to convert some of the columns in the SQL scripts because they were pointing to a data, but the rule interpreted as a string. So you do a convert on those columns, and it will work. And then I also created a MaxL script for creating the app and loading all the dimension and all the data. And once that was done, I did a copy of this to a Basecube, and then I automated the MaxL script. And now that those scripts are running automatically every day and rebuilds the script every day. So that was actually the migration part. And then we also needed to do some development, and we needed to set up an IP network and VPN connection to be able to connect to the on-premise databases. As I mentioned earlier, we added an ADFS connection to set up SSO. We also needed to adjust some of the automation scripts that we used on premise, and also create new ones for data loads, rebuild our applications, and start and stop of instances. And we had to use a set of different tools. We used EPAM Automate, that is tool to automate jobs in the planning cloud part. I used something called Essbase CLI utility for up and download of files to Essbase Cloud from your on-premise location. The MaxL client is to run data load scripts and so on from the command line. We have something called PSM CLI. That's a command line utility used to start and stop the cloud instances. As I mentioned earlier, you only pay for the time you use the application. So right now, the customer is only running the applications from early morning to late in the evening. So it's stopped or it's closed down during the night and the weekends. And that can, of course, be changed later. But it's a very good way to manage your universal credits and use your monthly payment as good as possible. And I use batch scripts to trigger MaxL and some of these other scripts. I also need to use PowerShell in some cases, and I also used Visual Basic for one specific extract from Essbase Cloud. And then we also need to develop reports. So we developed standard reports in the BIX part for monthly reporting, and we are also looking at creating dashboards in data visualization, but that's in the pipeline. And then how it went. So in the end we successfully migrated all applications. The end users were actually affected very little. They just changed the URL and continued to use the systems as the day before the move. So we had a 30-minute workshop or introduction to the system and gave them the new URLs, and they were up and running. And the patching was actually a lot easier than anticipated. It was literally just push a button, we took lunch, and it was done when we got back. And another thing that the customer pointed out that was a very nice outcome of the system was that you're now allowed to have longer names than 8 characters, because in Essbase on-premise you have a limitation that the databases and applications and scripts can't have longer names than 8 characters, and that's something they feel is a very nice addition. And then I also have a quote from the customer that says, "Do not hesitate to take action to change. Even though it feels like the safer option, staying in an old environment can hurt productivity and will probably cause more struggles in the future than if you embrace and work actively with change." So if you have any thoughts, then he says that just do it now instead. And then really quick looking at the patching here. So when you log on to your administration part of your instances called PSM, you can see that here that you have, this is an overview of the application. I hit the application name here, but you can see here that you have 1 or more patches available. You click on that one and perform something called a pre-check to just make sure that your system, that you can add this patch. You can see here, in this case the pre-check summary was fine for this version. You can see here, this is the new version, 105.2.0.-307, compared to 105.1.0.2.17. Then you start the patch, and the system will back up first, of course. And then once it's done, you can see that you have a new version and you don't have this exclamation mark representing that 1 or more patches are available. And this whole process takes about, for this customer, it takes about an hour to patch. And you can, as I said, you can do it over lunch. So looking at the key takeaways from this project, we see that it's very important to understand the difference between the IaaS PaaS solutions and the SaaS solutions. When you have an IaaS PaaS solution, it requires more from the customer in terms of maintaining and scaling and taking care of the applications, just as you would with your own on-premise applications. It's more flexible in terms of adding more power, but on the other hand, you need to monitor that as well. Compared to a SaaS solution where Oracle would do everything for you. So it's important that these things, they will need to be addressed if you start a migration project to Oracle Analytics Cloud, to really understand what you're doing. It's also a clear product management is needed from both customers and consultant side, since it's required a lot of different skill sets. You need both the technical knowledge and application knowledge and database knowledge and security knowledge and so on. And this also ties into the next bullet. We see that it's very important to involve the customer's IT department very early, because this will be even though it's a cloud solution, it will still have dependencies on their own systems. In particular, if you set up a VPN connection and it needs to be in line with their compliances and so on. And governance regarding universal credits, it's also something you need to take into consideration. As I explained earlier, that this customer did a lot of, we set up this start and stop scripts to save some credits and so on. And that you need to evaluate going forward, that do you need more power? Would you want the system to be up and running longer or not? Or can you scale down and still get okay performance? So that you need to monitor once you're live. And in the end, we actually had a very happy customer that feels that they have gotten a very, very nice system that they can grow with for the future. So that will conclude this webinar. Okay, so I got a question here. It says, do you see analytics as a natural part when going for EPM Cloud in general? And yes, I certainly see that analytics is a very natural part for an EPM Cloud in general, because when you look at, for example, if you implement FCCS, or which is a consolidated financial close in the cloud, or PPCS, it's you can get very, very good analytics on that in combination with other sources. So, and got another question here also. What do you think the main driver to move to the cloud, and in particular Oracle Analytics Cloud? And in my opinion, I think it's a combination with that you're always running on a on the latest version, so always have an up-to-date system. Together with that, you have all the new features, and you don't pay. You don't need to pay for those upgrades, because those are included, and you can do the upgrades by yourself. And then also got one more question here. What features do you see being added to OAC in the near future? The things that in particular I think it's lacking at the moment is that the scheduling part that we set up, that it's now using a command line utility, and that is scheduled using just the traditional task scheduler in Windows. Of course, you can use other automations tools for that, but it's that part is actually maintained and done by the IT department. And if you want to do any changes to that, to pause it, to extend, and so on, that will take a bit of time then you probably need to put in a request to the IT department, and they will then implement that, and it could take some time. But I really hope it will be implemented a scheduler within OAC to start and stop instances, patch the system during the night, and so on. So you as a controller or administrator are in control of what's happening with your system in terms of starting and stopping. Okay, the next question here is, have you set up SSO for Oracle Cloud and OAC? And yes, we have set up SSO for both. The SSO stands for single sign-on, and we have set that up for Oracle Analytics Cloud and PPCS. So when the users log on to the system, they will get a logon screen, and they will have an icon. It says either single sign-on, or you can say whatever you want to, and they just click there, and it will check what user that's logged on to this computer, and it will automatically log on into the system. And this works for both this works for both SmartView and applications. And the next question is, how do the end users feel when logging on to the new system compared to old one? Any differences, and how did the change go? So the users logging on to Essbase, that was actually the same as before. They only had to update the URL, so that part was exactly the same as before. For planning, it was slightly different. Most of the users use SmartView when they log on to planning. So for those users, it wasn't any change at all. But for the users logging on to the web, you have a different user interface. But since most users used SmartView, it wasn't really any big issue. Okay, it looks like we don't have any more questions. So I really thank you all for attending this webinar, and I hope I answered some of the questions. And if you have any other questions, just reach out to me, either by phone or on email. You can reach out to me or any of my colleagues.